In a move that has ignited both celebration and condemnation, Israel agreed to release 369 Palestinian prisoners on February 15, 2025. This mass release, a result of intense negotiations with Hamas, secured the freedom of several Israeli hostages held captive in Gaza. The exchange, while welcomed by the families of the hostages, has sparked a fierce debate about its potential consequences. The released prisoners, many of whom were serving life sentences for their roles in violent attacks against Israelis, walked free after years of confinement. The deal, brokered through international mediators, highlights the complex realities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where acts of diplomacy often come at a heavy price. This exchange, the largest of its kind in recent years, has reignited discussions about the effectiveness of such agreements in achieving lasting peace. The decision to release prisoners convicted of serious crimes has drawn sharp criticism from some segments of Israeli society. They argue that such releases, perceived as concessions to terrorism, only embolden militant groups like Hamas. Conversely, supporters of the exchange maintain that it was a necessary step to secure the safe return of the hostages, emphasizing the paramount importance of human life. As the dust settles, the long-term impact of this controversial exchange remains to be seen. The released prisoners represent a cross-section of Palestinian society, each with their own story of involvement in the conflict. Among them were individuals convicted of orchestrating suicide bombings, shootings, and other attacks that resulted in the loss of innocent lives. The severity of their crimes has fueled the debate surrounding their release. Ibrahim and Musa Saraneh, brothers who had been incarcerated for over 2 decades, were among those set free. Their convictions stemmed from their roles in suicide bombings during the Second Intifada, a period of intense violence between Israelis and Palestinians. The Saraneh brothers, now symbols of the prisoner exchange, returned to a hero's welcome in their West Bank village. Another notable figure released was Hassan Awais, whose case drew significant attention. Convicted of voluntary manslaughter, planting an explosive device, and attempted murder, Awais had been serving a lengthy sentence. His release, along with that of his brother Abdel Karim Awais, who was exiled to Egypt under the terms of the deal, underscores the complex family dynamics intertwined with the conflict. The prisoner exchange has elicited strong reactions from both Israelis and Palestinians, reflecting the deep divisions that continue to plague the region. In Israel, public opinion is sharply divided, with some praising the government for prioritizing the lives of the hostages, while others condemn the move as a dangerous capitulation to terrorism. The families of the released prisoners, overjoyed at their return, celebrated their freedom with tears and embraces. For them, this exchange represents the end of a long and painful chapter. However, the joyous reunions were juxtaposed with the grief and anger of many Israelis, particularly those who had lost loved ones in attacks carried out by those set free. The exchange has also ignited a heated debate about the nature of justice and accountability. Critics argue that releasing individuals convicted of heinous crimes undermines the rule of law and sends a dangerous message that terrorism can be rewarded. Supporters, on the other hand, emphasize the humanitarian aspect of the exchange, arguing that securing the release of hostages, regardless of the circumstances, is a moral imperative. The long-term implications of the prisoner exchange for Israeli-Palestinian relations remain uncertain. While some view it as a potential confidence-building measure that could pave the way for future dialogue, others fear it will only embolden Hamas and lead to further violence. The exchange has undoubtedly shifted the dynamics of the conflict, at least temporarily. Hamas, having secured a significant concession from Israel, may feel emboldened and seek to exploit this perceived victory to advance its own agenda. Conversely, the release of Palestinian prisoners could potentially weaken Hamas's grip on power, as it exposes the group's willingness to negotiate with Israel, a move that could be perceived as a betrayal by some hardliners. The international community, while cautiously welcoming the exchange, has urged both sides to seize this opportunity to resume meaningful peace talks. The release of prisoners, they argue, should be seen as a step towards building trust and creating an environment conducive to dialogue. However, given the deep-rooted mistrust and animosity between Israelis and Palestinians, the path to a lasting peace remains elusive.